Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopijana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodanandana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Girdhari Radha Girdhari Radhe Jaya Radha Girdhari Radha Girdhari Radhe Prabhupada 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 Srila Prabhupada ke Jam Vishmat Paramahamsa Prabhujakacharya Sotar Sata Shishimadesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada ke Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ke Disappearance Day, Anniversary Day of Srila Ramananda Roy ke Samaveda Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ke Gaur Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. Glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. We're getting to hear from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th Canto, Chapter 12. Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead, makes it today, crosses the finish line. Text number 38. Ita Uttana Pada. Oh, did I do Om Namo? Yeah. Okay. Iti Uttana Pada Putro Dhruva Krishna Parayana Adbhutra Yanam Lokanam Chudamanir Ivamala Ityuttana Pada Putro Dhruva Krishna Parayana Abhutrayanam Lokanam Chudamanir Ivamala Ityuttana Padaputro Dhruva Krishna Parayana Abhutrayana Lokanam Chudamanir Ivamala Ityuttana Padaputro Dhruva Krishna Parayana Abhutrayanam Lokanam Chudamanir Ivamala Ityuttana Padaputro Dhruva Krishna Parayana Abhutrayanam Lokanam Chudamanir Ivamala Ittana Padaputro Dhruva Krishna Parayana Abhutrayanam Lokanam Chudamanir Ivamala. One more. Ityuttana Padaputro Parayana Abhutrayanam. Iti, thus, Uttanapada, of Maharaj Uttanapada. Putra, the son. Dhruva, Dhruva Maharaj. Krishna Parayana, fully Krishna conscious. Abhut, became. Triyanam, of the three. Lokanam, worlds. Chudamani, the summit jewel. Iva, like. Amala, purified. Translation. In this way, the fully Krishna conscious Dhruva Maharaj, the exalted son of Maharaj Uttanapada, attained the summit of the three statuses of the planetary systems. Please repeat. In this way, the fully Krishna conscious Dhruva Maharaj, exalted son of Maharaj Uttanapada, attained the summit of the three statuses of planetary systems. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The exact Sanskrit terminology for Krishna consciousness is here mentioned. Krishna Parayana. Parayana means going forward. Anyone who's going forward to the goal of Krishna is called Krishna Parayana, or fully Krishna conscious. The example of Dhruva Maharaj indicates that every Krishna conscious person can expect to reach the topmost summit of all three planetary systems within the universe. A Krishna conscious person can occupy an exalted position beyond the imagination of any ambitious materialist. If you could please pray together. Om Jnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Salakya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Sri Chaitanya Mano Bhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam Pandeham Sri Guru Shiyata Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shiva Shakan Vitamscha Hey Krishna Kanana Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhana Sutta Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakopatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharane Nivishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarane Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki. I hope you sincerely said your prayers, asking for mercy to descend upon us. Today's discussion will include many a topic way beyond my pay grade, but I can repeat the message as I've heard it and explain it to the best of my ability, but some of them are certainly way beyond the scope of my understanding, simply discussed as the goal. But anyway, a very interesting line here. Srila Prabhupada says, anyone who's going forward to the goal of Krishna is called Krishna Parayana. It's pretty safe to say that everyone in this room is going forward in the goal of going back home to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada's written in a purport that following the instructions of the spiritual master is tantamount to meeting or seeing the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Performing devotional service is non-different from going back home, back to Godhead. So anyone who's going forward to the goal of Krishna is called Krishna Parayana, and this is the interesting part, or fully Krishna conscious. We're going forward, but whether or not we could say we're fully Krishna conscious, that's up to each one of you. But for myself, I can certainly say I miserably fall below that. But the goal is there. We all want to go back home, back to Godhead. What that means is we all want to be reunited with Krishna, and we want to serve Krishna. This is the place we come to, not to serve Krishna, to forget Krishna. See if I can pull it out. Krishna Buli Se Jiva Anadi Birmukha Ataiva Maya Tare Deya Samsara Dukkha. Forgetting Krishna, the living entity has been attracted by the external feature from time immemorial. Therefore, the illusory energy, Maya, gives him all kinds of miseries in his material existence. So we're hoping to get out of this miserable bag, out of this material prison, and be reunited with our best friend, our worshipable Lord. So in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna gives so many different instructions. Yesterday, the chapter I read was Attaining the Supreme. And in just that one chapter, there's like a handful of times where Krishna says, if you simply remember me, you'll come back to me. Text 5, and whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remember me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this, there's no doubt. Text number 8. He who meditates on me is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. His mind constantly engaged in remembering me, undeviated from the path. He, O Partha, is sure to reach me. Starts, when you start paying attention, undeviated in the path, and constantly remember me, it's kind of like, oh, I have hope, but the bar is still above me. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I'm easy to obtain, O son of Pratha, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Whether or not our devotional service is constant, that's what we have to ask ourselves. The reason why our devotional service is not constant is because we have other desires. There's no other explanation. Desires outside of wanting to serve Krishna. Garbage in the mind accumulated since time immemorial. Impressions that are the root, or the impetus for desires. They come up all the time. And to the extent that we're not absorbing ourselves in the nectar, which allows us to become attached or at least attracted to Krishna, then those desires may seem to have some value. To be able to think of somebody all the time, the reality is you have to love them. You don't remember somebody or think of them constantly without loving them. The mind is not such an easy machine that you can tinker with and streamline to where, yeah, okay, I may not be on that platform, but I'm going to think of Krishna all the time. I mean, the proof of this statement is, what's it take to chant 16 rounds of japa? Around 2 hours, a little less maybe. 2 hours of 24 in a day, that's 1/12. That's basically 8% of the day. Is that right? 12 into 100? Yeah, 1/12. 8% of the day. When you kind of put it in a mathematical term, it doesn't seem like a lot of time. But are we able to give our full attention for that 2 hours on the names of Krishna, which are Radha and Krishna, no difference? Are we? If we have attachment to them, yes, we'll be able to. If not, then it's a exercise, a daily test to see how strenuously we're going to beat down the mind and listen to the sound vibration of the names, praying that they will accept our service, that they will soften the heart, cleanse the heart, and help us. And that's what we're doing in Vaidhi Bhakti. We're going forward to Krishna because we're following to the best of our abilities the instruction of the spiritual master. I've said it before, but I'll say it again because it's nice to repeat these things so they stay within the memory. Use it or lose it. But there's 4 obstacles to remembering Krishna or achieving constant devotional service, purity and service to Krishna and the Vaishnavas. First one is ignorance of the absolute truth, not understanding Krishna. Now, Srila Prabhupada, he presents Krishna consciousness, the most rare, Rajavidya, Rajaguyam, secret, absolute truth in such a way that, yeah, I can do that. The fact of it is, everybody can do that. Pretty soon, in a week or so, you'll be hitting the blessings for having heard Dhruva Maharaj's glories, and basically like the glories of Prahlad Maharaj. Anyone who hears of his activities, anyone who hears of his qualities, you'll become freed from material contamination, you'll develop pure devotion, you'll develop qualities like he has, and you'll go back home to Godhead just like him. Simple process. Anyone can follow the process if they apply themselves. So we don't have any excuse for being ignorant about the philosophy of Krishna consciousness. Morning, evening, hopefully sometime during the day, we're all hearing about, reading this wonderful subject matter of Krishna's devotional service, of Krishna's glories. And the second one is attachment to sense gratification, which is the 10th offense in chanting Hare Krishna. I've already touched upon that. to the degree we're not absorbed in our service, it's a symptom that there are desires lurking there and influencing us, bothering us, disturbing. Third thing is weakness of the heart. I've meditated upon this since I've last had your company. It's very good to have spent the morning with you and to be here with you now. But weakness of the heart, when somebody gives us advice, like one of my prabhus thanked me this morning for some advice at another prabhu, and I was there when it was going on, some sangha and recommendation for improving one's devotional service, and he took it up. If we get instructions from Srila Prabhupada or those who repeat the message, trying to help us, and if we don't act upon them, that's called weakness of heart. We're all sincere. We all want to go back home to Godhead, but the seriousness is the rough part of it. Srila Prabhupada would say, anyone who's sincere and serious can easily go back home to Godhead in this one life. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said the same thing. It's the message of Gaur-Nitai. Just do it. But the seriousness is the tough part, because that's our utsahanisya dharya, the determination, the confidence that if I do this, I'm going to get what's being promised. I've tasted enough nectar. I've had the vicious onslaught of material pressure and misery pulled back. I've felt relief sufficiently enough that I know, man, there's no comparison between Maya and trying to serve Krishna. I have faith in this. So, sense gratification will certainly trip us, keep us from surrendering fully. And the third is weakness of heart, which I said is it's a big one. It's actually a big one. Because there's so many ways in which the heart can be weak. Srila Prabhupada in one purport in the Bhagavad Gita talks about after we have to become free of attachment to the identification of the gross body and mind, and also give up attachment to the things in relationship to the body. But we're intellectually trying to do that, but there are subtle things that trip us up, that make it, that we will continually be tested on until we get it. Because Krishna is so very kind to his devotees. He wants us to come back to Godhead. He wants to help us get there as quickly as possible. In fact, he's putting his hopes that this, for each and every one of us, is the last soldier and last body in this material world. We're right there now. All we have to do is just sprint across the finish line. Give it our everything. So weakness of mind, we have to be very careful, and it's the devotees who can help us in that regard, because on the most part, the mind becomes comfortable, as I said last time, in our conditioned execution of Vaidhi Bhakti, and the devotees can point out, hey, you can improve here, or stop doing what you're doing. And the last thing is offenses, and we all have heard plenty of discussion about the offenses to the name, to the devotees, to the spiritual master, to the deities, etc. Plenty to watch out for. And it takes seriousness to be mindful of them and blaze it, to tattoo it upon our being that, no, I don't want to do any of that. So the goal is to always remember Krishna, never forget Krishna. I've said that you can't remember Krishna always unless you have love for him. But the second part, never forget him, is easy enough, because that's the process of sadhana bhakti, Vaidhi Bhakti. We do the things that we've been told to do because they purify us and are the apprentice activities of the prema bhaktas, those who have love for Krishna. What we do basically are the activities going on, the essence of activities going on in Krishna Loka, in Vrindavan, with Krishna and all his eternal associates. So, Badrinarayan Swami mentioned, Ramananda Roy. Arjuna heard the instructions of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, and then Ramananda Roy, who is an incarnation of Arjuna. He has a couple other eternal parishads in there also, but Arjuna, the roles are turned and he instructs Krishna in Chaitanya Leela. The end of Bhagavad Gita, Sarvadharmam Prityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja, that one should fully surrender to Krishna, giving up every other type of duty, every other type of dharma. Actually, pretty tough to do that unless you have love for Krishna. And the essence, or the way in which you prove that that's what you want to do, that that's what you're doing, is Manmana Bhava Mad Bhakto Madhyaji Mam Namaskaru. Always think of him once again. Now, who's the best example of fully surrendering? This is the question. And I can start acting more animated. It'll help you stay awake. Who is the best example of those who have given up everything to serve Krishna and are always thinking of Krishna? Who's the best example? The gopis. No question about it. Topmost devotees. Srimati Radharani being the epitome, the source of all others in that mellow or in that relationship of conjugal love. So they set the best example of Sarvadharma Pritya. I mean, they, as Krishna recognized, you gave up everything for me. Attachment to your husbands, to your children, to the duties at home, to your reputation, to the dharmas of Vedic religion, rituals, etc., that would allow you to have happiness in the next life. You gave up all happiness in this life and the next, just so you could simply please me. We engage in Vaidhi Bhakti, everything we do, because we want to achieve the goal. The sadhana helps us achieve the sadhya. The gopis, they don't engage in any sadhana to achieve anything. From the very get-go, they are naturally attracted to Krishna, and they have their love for Krishna. The eternal Vrajvasis who descend with Krishna, for them it's just simply Krishna. They don't need this Shastra Chakshu, the eyes perspective of Scripture. They don't want to hear Krishna's God. They could care less. They're just naturally in love with Him. And the highest example is the gopis. And they sacrifice everything for His pleasure. A notch below is the queens of Dwarka. And although pure devotees, they're not on the level of the gopis. Sometimes they will have a desire which is dovetailed in the service of Krishna, but they have some personal interest. One of the wonderful things, Bhakti Jamal asked me a question about Krishna's winding up his manifest pastimes. And since that time, a week and a half, I've read a chunk of Krishna Sangita, Shivaram Maharaj, a wonderful book taken from the teachings of our previous acharyas. And in there's one pastime when the the gopis, they go to Siddha Ashram, a lake, a tirtha close to Dwarka, because Radharani was told that if you go bathe in this kund, then you'll always be able to have the association of Krishna. Guaranteed. Don't doubt my words. Let's just do it. She didn't need her arm twisted. She immediately went. Then they went there and they got to Krishna knowing they were coming. He couldn't wait to see them. He went there with his queens. Fast forward a story, make it very short. The queens came to realize that their love for Krishna compared to Srimati Radharani's was nothing. Their pride of being Krishna's wives and his queens was smashed. And once they realized that Radharani's love was unparalleled, unexcelled, then they started meditating. The pastimes of Radha and Krishna, the activities, and they realized, wow, it'd be wonderful to see the Rasa Leela. Not only see it, it'd be wonderful to participate in it. And Krishna often acts as the hen-pecked husband, and so they approached him. Rukmini was the spokesman. Do you think Radha's here, you're here, we're here? Think we could have some Rasa Leela? He said, well, I don't know. Srimati Radharani's the queen of the Rasa Leela. You have to go ask her. She gives her blessings, and sure. They go and approach her, and I said I'd make it short. So ultimately, knowing that that'll please Krishna, that he's going to bless his queens in this way, then all right. And she empowers them to have the full knowledge of how to dance, how to dress, how to act in such a way to perform the Rasa Leela Seva. But the point was that the queens did it because they wanted to enjoy the Rasa Leela. And the gopis, headed by Srimati Radharani, simply engage in the Rasa Leela or any other activity because they want to please Krishna. And although their activities may sometimes be described with the terminology of, the lusty desires of the gopi, we cannot hammer it hard enough, emphasize enough, that there's nothing mundane or lusty about any of the gopis' activities, words, or qualities. It's all for pleasing Krishna. Every bit of it. And so, Ramananda Roy, it's his day today, and although ontologically speaking, he has Arjuna. Ganadeshtapika says also there's a gopi, a Priyanarma Sakhi, one of the most intimate servants of Radharani named Arjuniya, who is there. Gaura Ganadeshtapika says also he's an incarnation of Lalita. Now, these are the realizations and opinions of Kavi Karnapurna, son of Shivananda Sain. But not everybody always agrees with his realizations, his understandings. There's one verse even in the whole book where it says Lord Chaitanya doesn't accept this. He thinks so-and-so is somebody else. So similarly, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his commentary on Chaitanya Charitamrita, he says that Ramananda Roy is the incarnation of Vishaka. Instructing Lord Chaitanya as Vishaka does in Krishna Leela, we can understand that he is the incarnation of Vishaka. So whether it be Vishaka or Lalita, Swarup Damodar is Lalita. No question, everybody agrees on that. So that Lord Chaitanya in the mood of Srimati Radharani would be surrounded by Lalita and Vishaka, it certainly is comprehensible. It is certainly the Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that is the fact. So anyway, when Lord Chaitanya took sannyas, I'm going to segue into Ramananda's glories, went to Puri, located there, and then he went on tour right away in South India, southern India, and he spent 6 years chanting Hare Krishna and spreading love of Godhead to all he met. And right in the very beginning of his tour, he got to meet Ramananda Roy. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya told him, you have to meet this devotee. He is the topmost expert on the conjugal service of Radha to Krishna. He knows Krishna. And it would be greatly beneficial for you to have his association. Don't mind that he's a householder. Don't mind that he's a politician, the governor of Madras, etc. Please try and meet with him. So Lord Chaitanya was very eager. And when he was at the bank of the Godavari, I had the good fortune of having gone there. And Lord Chaitanya was chanting in the forest there. The forest reminded him of Vrindavan, Godavari River, reminding him of the Jamuna. He was in ecstasy. He was sitting down chanting, and then here came this big parade. There was like 1,000 Brahmins chanting mantras, this and that. And in a palanquin was Ramananda Roy, the governor. And when Ramananda Roy took his bath and did some rituals, perpetuating his forefathers, etc., he saw Lord Chaitanya, and he was immediately attracted to him. His effulgence was like bright as the sun. He could perceive that. And of course his bodily features, built like a lion, really strong, really tall, golden or saffron cloth, etc. Immediately went to him, paid his obeisances. And Lord Chaitanya, he stood up and he embraced Ramananda Roy. And he was so happy to see his eternal associate. He was so happy to see a dear servant of his. And both of them became ecstatic and they fainted right on the spot, embracing each other. And then, of course, the ecstatic symptoms came, crying, shivering, paleness of the body, hair standing in. And you can imagine 1,000 Brahmins looking at this going, what in the world is going on? Why is the sannyasi embracing a Shudra? And why are they both acting in that way? It's hard to comprehend what's brought all this on. Lord Chaitanya saw the Brahmins, and he came to external consciousness and sat down and made his introduction. And there's the section of Chaitanya Charitamrita describing the discussions they had are understood to be the epitome of the teachings in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Ramananda Samvad. It's basically Prayojana Tattva. It's the glories of the topmost service to the Lord. And this is certainly way beyond our pay grade. Prabhupada has written a wonderful book called In Search of the Ultimate Goal of Life. Wrote it in the 50s when he was in Radha Damodar. And it's an elaboration and purports to that section of the Chaitanya Charitamrita. Really wonderful book. And of course the CC is there. They complement each other, but there's some nice nectar. Like prose, like in the Krishna book. More like that in the earlier book. And he says that anyone who's affected externally by bodily consciousness or subtly by identifying with the mind, you won't be able to touch these subject matters. Sanatana Goswami says the same thing in the Briyat Bhagavatamrita, that Krishna Prem cannot be described by words. If one doesn't possess it, you're not going to understand what it is. It's just like, has anybody here had malaria besides me? Malaria? Not even you? Goodness, I must be a sinful wretch. I've had it 3 times. Now you have no idea what malaria is like if you haven't had it. Extreme shaking, cold as freezing in the midday sun of Indian summer, uncontrollably, fever. You think you're going to die. It's quite an experience, but you have no idea. Those words don't convey the meaning. What to speak of Krishna Prem? That's just a mundane description of disease and of the material body and mind in this world. But Krishna Prem, not of this world. Krishna Prem, this is the essence of the Ladani Shakti, the pleasure-giving potency of Krishna. And the essence of Krishna Prem is the Mahabhava, the personification of Srimati Radharani. And Ramananda Roy was able to discuss these things with Lord Chaitanya. And I'm not going to go through all of that conversation. I'm just going to share a few questions with you that Lord Chaitanya asked of him after the initial sharing of taking it from the beginning, Varnashram Dharma, all the way up to Krishna Prem, all the way up to the mellow of conjugal ras, all the way up to the standard experienced and offered to Krishna, the service offered to Krishna by Srimati Radharani, Vadanakya Mahabhav. He went through the whole 9 yards, which means Vipralamba Seva, the topmost manifestation of love for God. He shared all that in the first evening they spent together, the whole night talking. But these are some questions just to hopefully give you a little impetus that you might crack open the CC today to read this subject matter. It's the topmost jewel. So what's the best education? Lord Chaitanya asked Ramananda Roy. And he replied to Lord Chaitanya, devotion. Let's get this. Devotion to Krishna. Let's put it this way. Maybe I can see the whole thing. What's the greatest activity for a living entity? You can think of the answers you would give if you were asked this. To be a servant of Krishna. What's the supreme wealth? Krishna Prem, love of Radha and Krishna. What's the greatest unhappiness? Okay, you got your quota. That's 2 for you. Now we open up the floor. Yeah, separation from devotees. What's the highest liberation? Krishna Prem. What is it? Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. Then you have the Purushartha, the supreme goal, which is Krishna Prem, the supreme liberation. What's the best song? Yeah, songs describing the pastimes of Radha and Krishna. What's the most auspicious thing for the living entity? Yes, devotee association. What's the only thing we have to remember? Could have said things. Krishna's name, qualities, pastimes. What's the only thing to meditate upon? This is nice. Any guess? Specifically, the lotus feet of Radha and Krishna. It always begins there. It's beginning, middle, and end for the Prema Bhaktas, the feet of Krishna. We have no idea. The fulfillment of any aspiration and desire for happiness, peacefulness, excitement, it's all there in the feet of Radha and Krishna. Where's the best place to live? Yeah, any place where Krishna has had his pastimes. Mayapur is certainly acceptable there. What's the best thing to be heard? Descriptions of the loving pastimes of Radha and Krishna. What's the only thing which is to be glorified? The names of Radha and Krishna. You get the idea. Ramananda Roy's focused on Radha and Krishna his whole life. He was performing his duties, doing them wonderfully. He was a very good governor, but he was always absorbed in devotional service, in love to Radha and Krishna. And Lord Chaitanya, he came to a point, and this is way beyond my pay grade, but I want to share it with you because we're meant to understand the goal. When we say Krishna Prem, really that Krishna Prem means the goal of life is to cry for Krishna. Because that crying is a manifestation of the separation of Krishna. Now, in order to feel that separation from Krishna, you have to have captured him. You have to have had Krishna. Right after being initiated, Lord Chaitanya got his darshan. Krishna came, embraced him, and ran off. That was it. He was a madman ever after. Happened in the Jagannath Vallabha Gardens, where Ramananda Roy would do his sadhana. He would do his service. Krishna appeared to him, played his flute, and ran off. I mean, to see Krishna, then the intensity of love that takes place, manifests within the heart when Krishna leaves you, disappears. This separation externally looks like great suffering. But one has to be very careful when trying to describe the exalted reality of Vipralambha Seva, because it's not simply separation. There's a pastime with Uddhava going to Vrindavan to give the gopis messages from Krishna to console them, because he'd been gone a long time. And they basically were sustaining their body only with the hope that he would return. But the gopis asked him at one point, one who surrenders completely without any motive, without any personal selfish desire, that person should never feel unhappy in that reciprocation. But we have been abandoned by Krishna, and we're miserable. We can't help but think of him. We can't stop thinking about him. And It concerns us that people will think, well, they didn't actually have any love for him. I mean, what's the reason for this? We don't want to discourage anybody to think that you surrender to Krishna, surrender everything to Krishna, and you become the loser. Nor does the devotee, in describing these things, want to discourage anybody, but they ask Uddhava, what's the deal? It's not right. It's not fair. It's misleading. And basically, he understood why they were manifesting this in his humility. And I want to preface that with, Uddhava thought he was quite an advanced devotee before going to Vrindavan. He looked exactly like Krishna. He already had Swarup Moksha. He looked just like Krishna. Put a turban on his head and stick a peacock feather and a flute in his sash. He'd fool practically anybody. And he was Krishna's best friend. He's the son. We always say cousin brother. He's the son of the brother of Vasudeva, Dhanabhaga, if I've remembered properly. Very close. Plus he was instructed by Brihaspati, spiritual master of the demigods. He knew Shastra backwards, forwards. He was actually so knowledgeable. He was Krishna's advisor. Krishna consulted him in everything in the Dwarka Leela. And so Krishna sent him to give the message. So he was thinking he's quite the advanced devotee, just like the queens are thinking they're quite the advanced devotees. And of course they are. But compared to the gopis, compared to Radharani, nothing. No love at all. I don't have a drop of love. And he said, the only thing I can think of to answer your question is so that this fool, this very fallen fool, could see what real love for Krishna is. And he thought, I have to get the mercy of these devotees. I was sent to console them. How can I console them? When someone loses a son, like Nanda, like a parent, or someone loses their lover, like the gopis, if it's a mundane relationship, then you tell them, don't cry. It was temporary. It's the way things go, this and that. But when Krishna is your son, when Krishna is your lover, it's eternal. There's no loss. How can you tell somebody? I mean, it's not destined to end. How do you tell somebody, don't cry? In fact, he felt like saying, because he got chastised by Nanda Maharaj when he tried to console him, giving him Krishna Tattva Sambandha Gyan, Krishna's God, blah, 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 blah. He said, don't cry. And Nanda Maharaj said, you're such a fool. I know you're a young boy, but I thought you had wisdom. Krishna's minister, counselor. If you'd told me, yes, it's the greatest loss. I see why you're crying. If you'd told me like that, then I would have felt some consolation, some sympathy. It would have helped a little. But when you tell me, don't cry, you've only made it worse. You tell me Krishna's God, if that were true, that makes it even doubly worse. Then I've not only lost my son, but I've lost the most valuable son. What to speak of the gopis? So at this point he realizes I should just be praying to them, cry, cry, cry. Cry your heart out, because that's what's going to attract Krishna. Your tears and your selfless love will bring him back, no question, guaranteed. And so this Vipralamba Seva, it's the manifestation of true love for Krishna. Anybody who's caught Krishna, who Krishna has given himself to, why does he disappear from them? The answer to the gopis' question is simply to enhance and to glorify their love. Because if there was no separation from Krishna, prema actually, the acharyas say, would die. It would not sustain itself. But in the union and separation, it just becomes more and more intense, more condensed, more volatile, more alive. And those words give no service to the reality. But it's the height of experience of love when one is separated from the Lord. And it's not a one-way street. Krishna feels the same pain in separation. In Dwarka, he was simply thinking about the gopis. The longer it went on that he hadn't visited, and Bhagavatam doesn't tell us of his visiting. There's one verse where the inhabitants of Mathura make reference that when you go to Vrindavan, when you visit Vrindavan and Hastinapur and etc. So there's one slight reference, and the Acharyas uses to prove their scriptures they write of so many times when Krishna returned to Vrindavan to keep alive the devotees, his beloved ones. But he feels the same pain, and in his sleep he simply calls out, Radha, 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 Gopi, Gopi, Gopi. And the queens, they know, wow, his love is really there for the inhabitants of Vrindavan, what to speak of the gopis. So this Vipralamba, it's a two-way street. And when we talk about Lord Chaitanya wanting to understand the love of Srimati Radharani and what she experiences, the glories of that love, he's really talking about Vipralamba, because that's the epitome of love for Krishna. The service, the remembrance of Krishna in separation. And in that separation, this is the reality. There is union within the heart. One who is crying for Krishna, Krishna is within the heart. And when one is with Krishna and one is a lover of Krishna, then there's always that thought that I will lose Krishna soon. That's the most exalted forms of separation from Krishna, when he's right there with you and you're thinking, I'm going to lose him. So both things are there. In union there's separation, in separation there's union. Krishna cannot be lost to one who is always thinking of him, as Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita or in the Bhagavatam. For those whom I'm, simply within their heart, they're simply within my heart. For me, for them, I'm everything. For me, they are everything. Instructing Durvasa Muni. So the same reciprocal, as they surrender to me, I reward accordingly. He feels the same pain of separation. But he doesn't feel it in the form of the ashraya, the receptacle of that love. He feels it as the object of the love. And so his feeling is actually like an unripe mango, the same example we use for us in our Vaidhi Bhakti. We're Krishna Parayana right now, but we're unripe mangoes. But when Lord Chaitanya goes in to the heart of Srimati Radharani, and with the fire, the heat of separation, he melts her heart, and he steals that essence of her love. And when he takes it into his heart, then he can truly understand. And he came to taste it. And he came to give it away freely in this day and age through the chanting of Hare Krishna. We say Krishna praying, but this is for Rupanugas, this is what it means. They never said, I've found Krishna. It was always, where's Krishna? He's on the bank of Radhakund, on the hill Govardhan. Where is he? And this is how Krishna reciprocates lovingly with his most advanced, most dear devotees. So there's a prayer, 1.5 of the Adi Leela in Chaitanya Charitamrita. Dang it. Wherein Swarup Damodar Goswami has said, Radha Krishna Paniya Viviktir Ladani Shaktir Asmad. The loving affairs of Radha and Krishna are transcendental manifestations of Lord's internal pleasure-giving potencies. If it's the internal potency, the love of Godhead, why didn't he say Prema Viviktir? He said Praniya. This is really lofty subject matter. But Prema is divided into 8 different levels of advancement. The queens can reach up to Anurag, as do the parents of the Lord. First you have Rati, primary, previous to Prem. That develops into Prem. And then Prem condenses, becomes Sneha. Then Sneha condenses, becomes Mana. Mana becomes condensed into Pranya. And at that point, the two lovers are one. In terms of Tattva, Krishna will always be the Shaktiman, the source, the origin of the Shakti. Ladini Shakti of Srimati Radharani, they're always two. But when you reach the loving reciprocation in love at Pranya, then the mind of each of the lover and the beloved become one. Their body, their words, their dress, this and that, they are one. And this takes place only for Srimati Radharani and the gopis, this ever-increasing oneness. Krishna wanted to experience that. They had it in Vrindavan when they would be together. The proof of it is the symptom of they are reciprocating that way. Krishna's darkish. What color is his cloth? Golden, like Srimati Radharani. Internally, he's always thinking of Radharani, and he wears the golden dress to signify it. Radharani's golden. What is the color of her sari? It's a dark blue. Symptomizing she's always, but there's a certain point. I didn't grab Balaram Prabhu's Chaitanya Charitamrita. I don't know if it's in the edition that edition, but there's a picture. It's a copy of the essence. Brahmananda Prabhu said that Srila Prabhupada said it was his favorite picture of Radha and Krishna because it best signifies the absolute truth. And it's where Radha and Krishna are side by side, standing on one leg, and one arm's around the shoulder, one arm's around the shoulder, Radha and Krishna, and then their two hands are holding, and you look at it, you like go, well, that looks impossible to actually, it's one of those drawings where it's just like, that isn't in reality. You don't have steps leading steps to, the box I'm talking about. What they call it? Yeah. So it's the same way, the two of them together, and that's the pranya. That's the oneness that they have in the intimate groves of Vrindavan together. Their perspiration, their complete union. Why, the question is, if Vishaka Ramananda Roy had seen that take place, why did he faint when he realized that Lord Chaitanya was Krishna? A golden sannyasi, but he's actually Sham Krishna with the mood of Radharani. Why did he faint? He'd seen that take place, the separation, the union, because he had never seen Krishna take the essence of Radharani's love for him and become the Vishaya, become the lover, not the object of that love. He'd never seen that, and when he saw that, he fainted, because this is the highest exhibition of the love for Krishna. Lord Chaitanya came to feel it, he came to give it freely. Prabodhananda Saraswati Thakur says that having come to inundate this fallen age of Kali with the waves of the ocean of ecstatic Krishna Prem, anyone who does not take advantage of it, he's the poorest of the poor, the most unfortunate. So we are Krishna Parayana. We're doing that which will allow us to achieve the goal. It seems inconceivable, but that's the reality. And we will, no doubt, most of us have to take birth in Goloka or Gokula Vrindavan to associate with the Vrajbasis from birth, and thus completely purify ourselves and reawaken our love for Krishna before getting to go back to Goloka. But they're one and the same, no difference. So in one life we can go back home to Godhead. We just have to follow the process as it's given, give up our own silly pride, work on our own weakness of heart. When we're given suggestions, follow them. If it turns out to be disadvantageous in devotional service, then you can give it up. But when a Prabhu says, and we should be trying to correct ourselves, be aware, why wait till we fall asleep? Why? Get up immediately. Hear attentively Bhagavatam. Do the services as attentively as we can. That's Krishna conscious. And that attentiveness with the desire to please the spiritual master, the Vaishnavas and Krishna, that is what purchases their pleasure and their mercy. So this is our program. This is an auspicious day. So much more I could say about Ramananda Roy, but that's just a little, hopefully, encouragement to crack open the CC and hear and chant a little bit about him. He's one of 3.5 associates of Lord Chaitanya, the most intimate associates. Srup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, who stayed with him the last 12 years constantly, simply supporting, encouraging, helping him in his experience of that topmost Mahabhava, Srimati Radharani, separation from Krishna. And then you have Sikhi Mahiti and his sister Madhavi. She's the half, but an intimate gopi servant of Radharani, very dear to Lord Chaitanya. So it's an auspicious day. You don't hear about him that often, but trust me, Priyojana Tattva, he gave it to Lord Chaitanya. Lord Chaitanya said, you got to quit your job, you got to move into the ashram, you got to come to Puri so we can stay together. I'm a madman, you're a madman, and we have to stick together. Let's simply churn the nectar and serve Krishna. So are there any questions or comments? Yes, Prabhu. Yeah, sometimes it sounds like it's not like, is this working? But online and the internet, you can hear it quite well.
I think it's working. Just to share the famous verse of Ramananda Roy that Prabhupada based the phrase Krishna consciousness on. Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati kriyatam yadikutopi labhyate tatta laulyam api mulyam ekalam janmakoti sukritana labhyate. That this absorption of the mind in bhakti rasa for Krishna bhakti rasa, is the most valuable thing. And you should purchase it if you can find it in the market. But you have to have the price, and the price is greed. Laulyam api mulyam. Millions of years of pious activity cannot attain it. Hare Krishna.
And that's by?
I think it's original. I think it's attributed to Ramananda Roy.
Wonderful. Somehow or other, I always thought that was Rupa Goswami.
No.
Nice. Learn something every day in Association Devotees. So you won't be seeing much of me. I'll be watching online as much as I can until my job starts. Then I won't even be that fortunate. But thank you for your association. I pray for you every day, as I hope occasionally you will think of me kindly. And Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, Ramananda Roy ki, Samaveda Gaur Bhaktavrinda ki. Hari Haribo.